I wanna make a Kirblog.
Kirblog.
Give me just one chance, and the future will decide if you will click that button to subscribe. I wanna make a Kirblog, so I did. Welcome back, everybody, to Pokésember, my month-long of Kirblog, Pokemon-related Kirblog topics that I've been doing. We're past the halfway point now. This is actually the first of a few in a batch that I'm doing ahead of time. By the time that this one comes out, I believe I'll just be getting to New York. I'm visiting home for about a week and a half or so. So I'm getting a bunch of ones done ahead of time. This one is submitted from a listener. This is during one of the recent ones that I just submitted in the last couple weeks from Taylor Stevenson. Separate comment: what was your experience from the other games of the franchise besides the main story ones like Red and Blue, Black and White, etc.? Do you have any standout memories of playing games like Pokemon Snap, Troze, Coliseum, or XD Gale of Darkness? So I guess to start off with, because I got a lot of other separate questions about this, unfortunately, I'm sad to say that I have not made the effort to play a lot of the more recent Pokemon spin-off games, which is a shame because back in the day, there was once sort of an unspoken, or I guess it was an unspoken rule to myself that I thought I was going to try and buy every single Pokemon game in existence, and I unfortunately gave up around the Ruby and Sapphire era. So because of that, I sadly missed out on Pokemon Ranger. I missed out on Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, a lot of the other console ones, etc., which is unfortunate because I know that they're really good. I got a lot of questions specifically asking me if I had played the Mystery Dungeon games. Sad to say I have not. And I know Mike One Kids of Elite 3 has often told me that they're really, really good and totally worth playing, but I sadly haven't. So I'm very sorry about that to all the many, many people who were asking if I had played those before. But I do have lots of stories about a lot of the first two-generation spin-off games. Starting off, just to kind of recount some of my memories, I believe the first one of those that I had was Pokemon Pinball, the original one for Game Boy that had the little Rumble feature, mini Rumble Pack thing built into it. Used to play that a lot on my downtime at school. Funnily enough, there was a teacher that we had, I think he was like a guidance counselor or something like that, who had a Game Boy, and he was actually super addicted to Pokemon Pinball. I don't think he'd ever played the original games, but he was really good at Pokemon Pinball and played through a lot of it, which was pretty cool. And I remember, I think we actually had he was one of those teachers that was like, he didn't really talk down to the kids. He was like pretty cool to them and like just was normal. Mr. Bajaj, if you're out there and you won't be listening to this. But yeah, we played through, he and I think talked about Pokemon Pinball to each other for a while. I was really addicted to that game and was actually trying to capture like as many of them as I possibly could for a long time, but I never even remotely came close. But it was always like a treat to me whenever I was able to get up to one of the Pokemon like versus mini games. I think once ever in my life, I got to fight against Mewtwo in the little Mewtwo mini game, which I think you can only do if you play through the first two on a particular, either the red or blue board. And funny story, I heard I believe it was the Capture a Wild Pokemon music on the blue board was an 8-bit remix of Mezase Pokemon Master, which was the first Japanese opening to the Pokemon anime. I had heard that remix in this game before I'd ever heard the actual TV series theme, and then like years later when I found the Japanese opening like video on like some fan site or something, I was like, oh, I know that from Pokemon Pinball. It was like kind of a fun little like roundabout way of like, oh, I know this song, and it's an actual song and it has lyrics to it, and oh, cool, and I'm gonna learn it and sing it like a weeb because that's what I do. But Pinball was great, and I did have the Ruby and Sapphire one as well many years later. Also a solid game. Don't have as many like specific memories of that one, unfortunately, but I'm sure it was technically a better game because I'm sure it was probably more functional than Pokemon Pinball. But I was pretty decent at both of them, as opposed to another one that I played that I was not very good at all. The Pokemon trading card game video game for Game Boy. Unfortunately, I don't have enough to say about playing the Pokemon card game. Nobody ever really asked like for a topic suggestion, but it's just as well. I don't really have enough to talk about with the card game other than just, yes, I collected them as a kid. I briefly played in a Pokemon League at my Toys R Us, and I don't think I ever won a single match, so I was awful at it. But equally so, when I had I think I remember playing it mostly on like a plane ride somewhere, maybe like Disney World or something, I can't remember. But I played through the trading card game video game for Pokemon many years ago. I think the only thing I took away from it was that there was a science gym, because since there were less actual types in the Pokemon card game, there was like a science gym that was all like mysterious, like like scientific-y, like psychic type Pokemon or whatever, even though there was separately a psychic gym in that actual game as well. I think that was the most I actually took away from the trading card game video game, was like the idea of, ooh, what if science was an actual Pokemon type, and then that went into my little fake Pokemon generation that I made up at the time, I think. But either way, one that I know a lot of people have huge, wonderfully fond memories of, Pokemon Snap. Was, I believe, like probably many other people, as I've learned, the first N64 game that I ever beat, because it's like 7 levels and it's incredibly short and easy. But loved playing that game. Sadly, I don't think I ever went to one of the Pokemon Snap like kiosk things where you could like print out your photos and little stickers or whatever. I don't think I ever did that. I know that there was one of those at one of my local Blockbusters, but I never actually like used it and got any photos of that. But definitely lots of fond memories of playing through that game. Not a whole lot to like specifically say about it, but I think I also did have the player's guide for that, which majorly helped with learning how to go through. And I think that actually might have been like the game that got me into photography for a while, because I haven't done it in a long time, but photography was kind of like a little bit of a hobby of mine for a while. Like when I go to conventions or like out sightseeing or like on vacation or something, I'd take a lot of photos and just try to make some memories and stuff like that. But Pokemon Snap. Oh, you know what? Actually, I do remember. I think Pokemon Snap got me onto this little craze where I was like actually going to school and like taking photos of like my Pokemon like figures and dolls and stuff like out in the wild, and like showing them to my friends, because I had a camera like many years ago that was like a traditional one where like it would actually print out a new photo like at that moment. And like a little traditional camera from like way back, and it would instantly make the photos, and you wouldn't have to like develop them or whatever. So that was kind of cool. I had some, because I had one of those like talking Pikachu figures, not figures, the dolls, like the kind of like Pikachu size, like life size Pokemon like talking dolls, and I did some stuff with that with my camera at the time, and probably some of my other characters that I owned as well. But yeah, Snap was a lot of fun. I know a lot of people have been loving like the idea of having like a Pokemon Snap U on the Wii U, and I don't know if that's ever actually going to happen, but it would be so incredibly. Although actually, even past that though, I feel like Pokemon Go is kind of going to be like sort of a spiritual successor to that at some point, in how like you can search for them in different environments and things. But we'll see how that goes whenever Pokemon Go comes up. We'll see how that goes. Pokemon Puzzle League. I'm talking about that one. That was one of my very first puzzle games that I ever played. It was my introduction to what was in actuality Tetris Attack, which is in actuality Panel de Pon. But yeah, I was big into that game. I was awful at it, like really bad at it. But I managed to, after probably like a full year of like trying and practicing and trying as hard as I could to overcome it, and dying countless times on probably even just the easiest mode possible. I remember because basically you would, because I think it's the only game that actually has the anime characters in it, or the only major game that has the characters from the show in it, like Ash and everybody. But I remember going through the whole thing, and when you beat very hard mode after you finish fighting against the Elite Four or whatever it was, then you would fight against Mewtwo. And I was at Mike Lucas's house. So I was like in middle school or something when this game came out, I think. I was at Mike Lucas's house, and I got to the end of very hard mode, and then I was able to challenge Mewtwo. And we saw the cutscene happen. We were freaking out, like, oh my god, Mewtwo is in this game! Holy shit, it was awesome! And it was like the way he was in the movie and everything, and it was crazy. So that was super cool to do that. I think if I went back and played it now, I'd probably just be equally terrible. But I think it did also prompt me later, like way later, to try and pick up a copy of Tetris Attack, which I have also beaten before, and it's pretty difficult. But it was a lot of fun. It's become like one of my favorite puzzle games, along with Puyo Puyo Pop or Kirby's Avalanche / Dr. Robotnik's Mean Machine and all that stuff. But yeah, good times with that one. And of course, I did have Hey You Pikachu, unfortunately, which also might have lent itself to why I was beginning to not buy a lot of those games anymore, because it's not that I was so excited or hyped up for it. I actually played like a pretty fair amount of it. I never beat the game, because you can actually beat that game and like get an actual ending, but I don't think I even like came close to that, unfortunately. But I did do a whole lot and tried to like unlock lots of stuff and get like meet some of the other characters. I think you can like unlock Togepi or like hatch him from an egg or something like in Abra's shop. But that game is as frustrating as everybody makes it out to be. I think I did probably try the typical thing of, saying stuff like PlayStation, WonderSwan, or Sega Genesis or whatever into the microphone just to see if Pikachu would electrocute me as a result of it. I think I actually did spend like a fair amount of time really trying to play that game and like do anything I could to win it, but it was just so wonky. The microphone like barely fucking functioned, and there wasn't really like a whole lot of interesting stuff to do. Like it was just too like it was too like finicky to like actually get to work, unfortunately. But I did have it. Honestly, the cutoff point for me was I think when Pokemon Box, which I know isn't an actual game, but that and Pokemon Channel, and as well as the little mini Pokemon games, like the little Pokemon Pikachu type of. I had a Pokemon Pikachu, the little pedometer thing. I had that, but they had like these little mini games that were like their own sort of like a Nintendo's equivalent of like a Tiger's Electronics sort of thing. It was really weird, but I think I saw those in like the Pokemon Center back when it was the Pokemon Center before it became the Nintendo World Store in New York, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm done with this for a while. The later ones that I did play were Pokemon Coliseum, which, it really sucks. This Pokemon Coliseum was in some way like, I mean, they tried to experiment to do some kind of interesting different things with that one, with like the dark balls and like the main character like only being able to steal Pokemon from the evil team or whatever. Like it was interesting and different. I give them a lot of props for that. But weirdly, it was like this is what everybody wanted: a console Pokemon RPG game like the handheld ones, and yet it didn't really turn out like the way people really wanted to. I think that I have not played XD Gale of Darkness. Unfortunately, I don't know if that one was a little bit more traditional or if it still had like the kind of weird experimental stuff like with the first one or something. But I never picked up that one, unfortunately. I just wasn't like super interested in it, to be totally honest. But yeah, it's weird. It's like this is what everybody was asking for, and sometimes still ask for. People still want like a console RPG game for Pokemon or like an MMORPG, which, again, Pokemon Go is kind of going to be like the closest thing to that very soon. But yeah, it was interesting. It was I enjoyed it for what it was, but I don't think I ever ended up beating it. The most that I got up to, or the most that I took away from, I think, with that game was I love Mirror B's music, the Mirror Ball, like big Afro disco guy with his whole like music was. Sometimes I still go back and listen to that once in a while. I think the most recent one that I ever played, if I'm remembering correctly, funnily enough, going back to the Nintendo World Store, was funnily enough they also had a kiosk there for what I think was Poké Park Wii. Which was actually a type of game that I had always really wanted something like that as a kid. Because Hey You Pikachu was like kind of on the way to it. I mean, obviously it was more about like communicating with Pikachu himself and all that, but just like having a game that was predominantly Pokemon characters and you can like move around and do that sort of thing. Well, and granted, like Mystery Dungeon is very much like that as well, but like a fully 3D environment that you could like move around and have like, real like, action battles that you can control the Pokemon with, which I think a lot of people were hoping Pokemon Stadium would be as well, and it didn't end up being the case. Pokemon Stadium is great. I'll get to that. The Poké Park Wii, I think I just remember like I was controlling Pikachu, I think was who I was using at the time, and was going around and I think I found a Scyther. I was like, oh, I'm gonna battle this Scyther or whatever it was. I think it was a Scyther or maybe a Scizor, and you could like actually have like a real like 3D platforming like combat with him, and it was like, oh, this is so cool. Like this is the type of, if I were a kid again, I would totally have bought this game and like love the shit out of it. And I never ended up buying it. I feel like maybe I would have liked it if I had bought it, but I don't know how like actually long it was or like how in depth the game was. I saw that there were like some mini games and other things like that, so I'm not sure like how much I would have really enjoyed it. But just for those couple minutes when I played it at the Nintendo World store, I really liked it. I guess last but not least are two of the big ones. Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2. I had both of those. Unfortunately, I no longer have my copy of Pokemon Stadium 2. I don't know what the hell happened to it. I think the second one was probably a little better than it. The mini games in the little like park area were a little more interesting. The Gym Leader Castle was really cool. I think I did beat Gym Leader Castle, but I gave up on completing all the different cups and everything to eventually fight the rival character who had like Ho-Oh and Lugia and Mewtwo, I think, were his team. So I unfortunately never got to do that. But yeah, Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 I have great memories of, and that was actually kind of what led me to when I bought my red version, because blue version, if you guys remember my first of these that I did it for Pokésember, I lost my blue version that had my first team and my complete 151 Pokedex on it, but my red version was where I built a really strong, awesome team specifically for Pokemon Stadium. So yeah, I remember, especially in the first one, because it was still, Generation 1 that I had my team in, but I remember just like, I built up my best 6 and just like dominated Gym Leader Castle. Gym Leader Castle was like the most fond thing that I can remember specifically from Pokemon Stadium. The mini games were also a lot of fun too. I love the Licky Tongue sushi eating one as well. But yeah, Gym Leader Castle was like the coolest thing to me, and like just powering through all the trainers and everything. Pokemon Stadium 2's Gym Leader Castle was really hard, and I think I only was able to get through that with a very particular strategy that the player's guide had instructed me, which was basically having a team of like Wobbuffet and Electrode and Corsola, and basically just doing counter and mirror coat all the time with both of them. And then if there was like too strong of a Pokemon, just like resort to Electrode and use Explosion or Self-Destruct or whatever to just get the win, and like use those 3 no matter what, was basically what I was instructed to do. So I was able to, I think, get close to beating it. I don't know if I ever actually did a game on Stadium 2 with my own team specifically. I can't remember if I actually did that or not. But I remember like I might have tried using my red team, but it probably wasn't like really all that outfitted for it, because by that point we didn't have the special ability. Well, no, I think special abilities wasn't until the passive abilities wasn't until Ruby and Sapphire. But just like a lot of the newer techniques and everything, it wasn't the same anymore. So there's a lot of that. But yeah, Stadium, and I remember also probably having matches with a lot of my friends at the time. We would use our game cartridges and everything to battle each other. And I often played Pokemon Stadium, as I mentioned way back again on my top 10 N64 games from like, that was like one of the first Kirblogs that I ever did, like almost 2 years ago now. Jesus Christ. I used to play Pokemon Stadium 1 with my dad a lot. We would play usually with rental Pokemon, and yeah, he would often totally destroy me with Gengar using the Dream Eater, Hypnosis and Dream Eater combo. But I may be talking a little bit more about that in the future with a certain Kirblog this month, but I won't say too much more about that. I'm still trying to be vague and mysterious about it. But either way, yeah, those are all of them. I'm sad to say that I still haven't played a lot of the cooler ones that have come out in the last few years. I don't know if I will get the chance to, but I am. This isn't a spin-off, obviously, but I had mentioned like Martin Little Karibo had bought me a copy of Omega Ruby like a whole year ago for last Christmas of 2014. So I'm finally going to play my copy of that and like get back into playing a Pokemon game again for the first time in years. And I am really excited about that. Maybe, you know what, because again, Ruby and Sapphire was kind of like the generation where I fell out of things, where I was just like, I'm not really feeling this anymore. But now, I want to give it another shot, because I know that it's a lot better than I probably gave it credit for back in the day. So I'm excited for that. But that's going to wrap us up for this one. So in the comments below, especially I'm assuming because a lot of my viewers are younger and probably have played the cooler, more recent Pokemon spin-off games, tell me your memories of stuff like Pokemon Snap or Pokemon Puzzle League, Pokemon Coliseum, Stadium, Pinball, the Mystery Dungeon games, Rangers, maybe Pokemon Dash, the racing game or something, or Poké Park. Pokemon Battle Revolution, any of the ones that I missed that I haven't played before. Tell me all about your memories in that in the comments below. If you have suggestions for future Kirblog topics, Pokemon or otherwise, leave a comment about that if you like as well. And hit me up on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook if you like submitting that way as well. And that'll do it. Only got a few more of these left already. We're getting close to the end of the holiday season, but hope you guys have been enjoying it. And hope you all are having a great December in general, Pokemon aside and holidays aside. Just hope you're all doing well. And thank you very much, as always, for listening. And I will catch you all later in a dark ball. Do you like my Espeon?